Welcome back. Now to our focus on the top international story, Vasudha, the events in Nepal unfolding as we speak. Some dramatic images also coming in at the moment, I believe, from Nepal, Vasudha.
That's right, Veera. In fact, there's some breaking news now. Nepal Gen Z protesters have put forth 15 demands. They want Sushila Karki or Balen Shah, the mayor of Kathmandu, to be appointed as the Prime Minister. And they want immediate action against the older Prime Ministers. They also they've also suggested some other resolutions, some other demands that need to be fulfilled. My colleague Aditya Rajkal joins us with more details on this. Aditya, what we understand is that in this online meeting of Gen Z protesters, which was attended by over 3,000 protesters, 2 hours of discussion. Can you take us through the demands that have been made by these young people?
Well, that's right, Vasudha. There's been hectic parleys that's been underway here in Kathmandu to decide the future course of action and how to restore stability and peace here in Nepal. It's been volatile last 48 hours with clearly 30 people dying and more than 500 people injured. Where I'm standing right now is the Nepal Army headquarters. I'll ask my video journalist, Prem, to pan and show you this headquarters of the Army headquarters. This entire, troops of the Nepal Army who are stationed here. We also have, apart from the massive security arrangements here, hectic negotiations underway, the representatives of the 3 groups of the Gen Z protesters who are inside. And apart from that, outside, a lot of public attention, a lot of national and international media attention out here. So a lot of hectic activities have been underway. Earlier this evening, after 5 hours of marathon meeting over Zoom, it was discussed and decided by the 3 groups of the Gen Z protesters that former Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, will be their representative, will be their leader to lead the negotiations with the Nepal Army. And now the Nepal Army has also asked the students to make sure that they have representatives to speak with Sushila Karki and the Nepal Army chief. So as of now, it's been a leaderless protest. As of now, it's been a combined protest of several groups of students, of youth of the country, leading this charge to change the course of history of Nepal, to bring down the government, but also to lead the charge against corruption, against the kind of mentality of elitism and the lavish lifestyle that the Prime Minister and a coterie of political leaders from different political parties were enjoying. So there's been a victory of the youth here in Nepal. But the biggest challenge here, Vasudha and Veera Raghav, would be how the future course of action will be and who will take charge of the leadership of Nepal to give the right kind of governance and also bring in transparency in that leadership so that there is no gap between the leaders and the youth and the larger public here in Nepal.
Aditya Rajkal, also help us understand that what has really happened today in Nepal. Yesterday we saw some buildings being burnt down, and you also reported as to what is really happening with the Supreme Court of India or the Parliament. What kind of violence is taking place today? Is the situation under control to some extent?
Well, yes, Vasudha. Yesterday and day before, there were massive protests that were underway. These were not, peaceful protests. This was violent protests that were underway. And let's be fair, there was violence from both sides. There was violence from the Nepal police, which led to initially 19 innocents dying, including an 11 and 12-year-old. And then also, violence at the Nepal Parliament, the Supreme Court, the Health Ministry, the Nepal Traffic Police Headquarters, and several houses and business establishments of former ministers, former prime ministers, and the current ministers as well. In fact, we've reported here on NDTV exclusive ground reports from the residents of the Deputy PM of Nepal and several others whose houses and palatial bungalows are completely charged now, and there is no political future for them. As of now, the youth have ensured that they have written the political obituary of several political parties, including the Nepali Congress and the Communist Party of Nepal. So as of now, there are hectic activities that are underway. The protest and the violence are in the past. Today, there was no violence. Today, the youth came out to clean the city. The youth came out to decide who their representatives really would be. And now would be the crucial task for the youth, for the Nepal Army, and for the bureaucracy of Nepal to decide who would be leading the country. In all likelihood, it will be a non-political figure because there's no faith in the political leaders of Nepal. But here on NDTV, we've been bringing exclusive views, coverage and ground reports from Nepal that will continue all through this week, and also get you voices like Sushila Karki and others who will decide the future course of action. Their role would be very critical, both the Nepal Army Chief, the former Chief Justice Sushila Karki, and several others in the bureaucracy, including the Chief Secretary. There is a huddle here right behind me where the students are meeting to decide the future course of action, and there could be hectic activity in the next 24 hours.
Right. Aditya, also, can you tell us a little bit about Balendra Shah, the person who's, at the center of this controversy, and also Sushila Karki, who's the first female Chief Justice of Nepal. Who are these people and why are they being seen as so central to this agitation?
Well, youth here who have been protesting have been very clear that they do not want the regular political parties, they do not want the regular political leaders, because the fight is against corruption. The fight is against a system that was so wrong, that was so tarnished, that there is no faith. There is an entire gap that has been created and there's no faith in them at all. So they want a non-political entity, they want a non-political voice that is clean, that has been fighting and raising their voice against corruption. And these two voices are distinct. One is the first female Chief Justice of Nepal, Sushila Karki, and the second is Balendra Shah. Balendra Shah has been the mayor of Nepal. He's been also a rapper. He's been speaking against corruption. He does not come out much on media, but his voice is very strong. He has a great following on the social media and a great kind of a rapport and connect with the youth and the Gen Z of Nepal. On the other hand, Sushila Karki was the Chief Justice, as I said, the first woman Chief Justice of Nepal. And in fact, her tenure was between 2016 and 2017. Since then, she's been supporting the youth. She's been raising her voice against corruption. During her tenure also, under her leadership as the Chief Justice, there were several cases of graft and corruption that she heard and ruled on. So Sushila Karki has a very honest image, as does Balendra Shah, but there are different non-political entities that are coming up. There needs to be a consensus now. There needs to be a charting up of the roadmap. Remember also that the city is in a complete chaos mode. There's a complete standstill because the international airport is shut, Vasudha. So they'll have to start and reconnect with the larger outside world. There are tourists who are stranded here, thousands of them. So the airport needs to come out in open, be operational, and then regular activities need to be open, because people are waiting with bated breaths to see who will be in the interim government, what kind of a governance will there be, and how will be this peaceful transition of power in this democratic Nepal.
Right. Thank you, Aditya Rajkal. We'll keep coming back to you. Sushila Karki and, of course, Sushila Karki and Balendra Shah are some of the front runners. Thank you, Aditya. We'll keep coming back to you for more details. Former diplomat Manjeev Puri joins us now. Veera, Ambassador Puri, thank you so much for speaking to NDTV. You have worked in Nepal from inequality to corruption to social media ban. There are many reasons that are being cited for these protests, for this agitation. How should India read this kind of anger, sir? And with regard to these Gen Z protesters coming together and saying that we want, an apolitical person to lead the country, very similar, a lot of similarities with what happened in Bangladesh. How should India read what's happening in Nepal?
So, Vasudha, first, let me say thank you very much. And I want to say that your colleague, Aditya Raj, was spot on talking about various things. Think about this. Day before yesterday, there was violent looting, mobocracy in a sense in Nepal. And today, as he himself reported, the same Gen Z guys were cleaning the streets. There is an attempt to fill the political vacuum which has been created. And in a sense, hardly any incidents have been reported. Tribhuvan Airport has been reopened. Nepal, has seen this kind of change, not this kind of violence which has taken place before. Sushila Karki's name has been proposed as the sort of leader of the Gen Z to talk to various forces. Obviously, the Nepal Army has a very important role. People say that she is likely to be the interim prime minister to take things forward. A good choice, non-political, a lady who was a chief justice. These things sort of set well. Look, the parallel, if you are looking for one, is somewhat similar to what happened in Sri Lanka. The army held back for a little while and then came on, and then the political process started on. Bangladesh is quite different. The forces that were behind it, etc., are quite different. In Nepal, we can keep talking about people from outside, etc. That's a different matter. But Nepalese society is very different now from Indian society, having been hugely exposed to globalization, to Western ideas, etc., over the last 30 years. Huge chunks of people staying overseas, large remittances, large number of NGOs, churches, etc. there. And therefore, this awareness, etc., is of a completely different order in Nepal. The social media ban was the thin end of the wedge. There's no doubt people were disconnected, they felt disempowered, and the politicians were sitting very smug. The ruling coalition had 2/3 of the majority in parliament. What was the need of listening to the people? As one eminent journalist in Nepal told me, they said, come on, we've been elected, we have for 5 years. Oh, who are the people? We are the people and we will take decisions. And you can see the outcome of what has happened. Ham-handed actions by the police and others, all of those things. But look, it is a country which has seen major change, 150-year-old monarchy going away, etc. And this has not happened in somebody else's lifetime. Even these Gen Z were born at that stage. And therefore, there is this ability, and hopefully you will see a degree of calm, normalcy, and a filling of the political vacuum in the coming days itself.
As you make that point, sir, what would you believe are going to be the key points that India is going to have to keep in mind as a new dispensation takes charge in Nepal? What would be the key markers that India would be looking at, if I can go as far as to ask what would be the key concerns for India?
Look, the most important thing for India is that we continue to have a very good set of relations with the people of Nepal, with the economy, and with all sections. Nepal is a sovereign country. We deal with them. We have the finest and the strongest of political links, links at the level of civilization, at the links of people. What are we seeing there? A political change. What kind of change is there? Let's be a little clear about it. Yes, those 3 people who ruled Nepal for 3 years, rule means who effectively governed Nepal between themselves and their political parties. I'm sorry, it's been a very sad and a very quick end to them. Perhaps they themselves never thought that could happen. Neither would most of us. And there is a replacement. But they had also been lax. They had missed the pulse of the people, especially the young people. Remember, in the 2022 election, a young party of young people, RSP, won 20 seats. And what did the old establishment do? They jailed their leader. Balen Shah got elected as mayor of Kathmandu, the largest city, by far the largest city of Nepal, without having support of any of the political parties. What did the establishment do? Try to undermine him on a constant basis. And therefore, a degree of authoritarianism steeps in. When you are far removed, you've always been powerful, and you say, how does it matter? It's us and it's our government. And of course, there was ham-handedness on the ground, which resulted for the first time in Kathmandu. Please note this. For the first time, these number of deaths, young children with bullet holes in their head in the Khasaria community. This is something that necessitated, in a sense, bloodletting. That happened for a day, but they've gone back. And, that's also a tribute to the kind of people that Nepalese are, who have experienced this, fought for democracy, seen change, etc.
Oh,
and I hope they'll be able to get their act together soon.
Okay.
And that's good for India.
Right, that's an important point. Thanks very much there, Ambassador Puri, for those thoughts. It's an important point that you make there. Thanks very much there, Ambassador Puri there, Vasudha. Important thing that India and New Delhi will be observing very, very closely what's happening in Kathmandu.